What is up, everybody? Welcome on into the Monday edition of Alarm Fantasy Football. I'm your host, Andrew Cooper, alongside me, Iggy Gilbert. And as always on Monday, we comb through the wreckage, right? We look beyond the box score to kind of look and see, okay, what happened here? Why did this happen? Who can we actually trust? Who we kick into the curb? What was a fluke this week? What wasn't, right? Because a lot of the stuff, depends on game script. Some teams only threw 15 times. Some teams threw 70 times. It happens all season long. But in some spots, guys lose their job. They get less work. They get hurt. So we're going to go through and do our best to kind of recap all that and tell you, hey, don't panic on this guy. Fluky week. He's going to be fine. Or we're going to say, hey, you know what? Time to cut this guy loose. It's week 16 now. It's the playoffs. We can't trust him. So that's what we're going to do today. Before we get to that, Iggy, how'd your weekend go? You still alive in some leagues? You got anything that comes down to tonight with the Dolphins versus the Steelers?
I do have a couple matches I'm playing against Achan, mainly in my best ball on DraftKings. So I got a couple leagues I'm sweating it out over there to get to the next round. But as long as he does well, other than that, man, no bragging. I advanced in I think all 5 leagues that I'm in. A lot of best ball big tournament leagues I'm advancing in as well. So pretty good week 15, but no, I'm not bragging at all because, it's a long way to go. If you've been here, the next 2 weeks are critical. I mean, even in the Drafters League, I've been in first, of the family drafts we do in the preseason. I only joined one, but I should have joined more because I've been in first in this one throughout the whole thing. Now we got, Loco Gringo coming up, and he's like 14, 15 points behind me. So it's going to be a sweat in that one as well.
Those leagues are always the hardest. Like my worst league this year that I didn't even make the playoffs in was the Fantasy Alarm Family League that Michael runs. It's got a lot of people in it. It's just super complex. Didn't have a good draft, and away she goes. When you're playing against the family and they're armed with all the same info as us, it gets tough, dude. So I'm not surprised Gringo Loco is sneaking up. Yeah, I'm doing all right in a bunch of leagues. I mean, I had some bye weeks. I'm alive in the Sirius XM Music League, Sirius XM Host League. The Independence Day League, I definitely won there because I have Kyle Pitts and a bunch of great players, Drake May. I'm out in Scott Fishbowl, though. I want to say that I'm not going to make the cut because I'm very close to the number. So way she goes, man. Way she goes. Also, I'm going to win in Kings Classic. I started Kyle Pitts there. A lot of Kyle Pitts teams are doing good. I'm in kind of a weird spot, though, with some of my best balls, which, let me ask you, what would you root for here? I got the Sirius XM Host League, right? With a lot of pride on it, but no money. It's just pride among the hosts on Sirius XM. I'm going up against DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf needs about 15 points or so, right, for me to lose. Then in Best Ball Mania, I have a team where if DK Metcalf gets about 15 to, I think I need 17 points. There's really no way to shoot the moon here. Then I advance a team to the next round. Like, what would you root for? Is the pride more important, or is the shot at $1 million more important?
I don't know. It's a different case per league, right? But the Sirius XM League, I get it. There's a bunch of heavy hitters in that one. It's basically the same thing as being in the Kings, as to the point. And I don't know. I'm just gonna say the teams that don't need DK to go off because I'm playing DK in a couple leagues, and he would need a game. So
we'll root against him. I'm cool with that. If
you're in other money leagues, right? I mean, you have.
I'm in a ton. Yeah, I'm in a ton of money leagues, and I'm doing good on those.
Yeah, you're gonna win money elsewhere. Let's get the pride one in.
Okay, let's get the pride. Yeah, and the thing is, if Achan goes off, I already have one team that's advanced in Best Ball Mania, and I can get maybe 1 or 2 more if Achan or DK do crazy things. But in Best Ball, you just gotta kind of let the chips fall where they may. So, all right, let's root against them together. All right, let's jump in it. We're going to try it here. Again, folks just joining us. Thank you guys for popping in. What's happening? We're going to go through each game here and just kind of give you the information that we have from behind the scenes. We kind of check all the sources. Big shout outs to places like Pro Football Reference, StatHead, Pro Football Focus, FTN Fantasy, our own stuff, obviously, Football Guys, My Fantasy League. I look at Fantasy Points Data Suite. Like, we just check everything, right? We check everything. People like Nathan Yonke tweet out like during the games, like, oh, here's who played the first half. It's like you got these great sources out there, JJ Zacharyson. So we kind of comb through, and I go back and watch as many games as I can during the morning. And then we comb through and we basically say, hey, here's what happened. Here's who you can trust. Here's who you can't. and we were rocking that way. So let's jump in, Iggy. You got the Bears Browns game here. What'd you see, man? Besides the Browns letting me down on my betting over on 38-point over under, Bears did their part. Browns let us down.
Yeah, man, it's nothing new. I've been saying it on the show for about 4 weeks. It's the rookie attack. It continues. The rookies lead the team in receptions, lead the team in receiving yards, lead the team in rushing attempts, lead the team in rushing yards. Fanning clearing away the most targeted. The Brown you want to have is Harold Fanning Jr. If you're like, oh, I got George Kittle or Fanning, play Fanning, okay? Kittle did a great game, but Fanning is going to continue to get this volume. He had 55 snaps, 40 receptions, 14 targets, 7 receptions, and 48 yards. So maybe, the receptions, if you're in a tight end premium league, that's amazing. But even without it, he had a fantastic game. Judkins, 12 rushes, 21 yards. Kind of a bum day for him. But keep in mind, Ford got put on the injured reserves. No Sampson. It was going to be a big game for him to shine, but the Bears really keyed in on him. So Sanders led the team in rushing yards with 24. Myles Garrett is 1 away from the sack record. We're going to get to see that, Coop. That's going to be amazing to watch because he could pad it. He could put a couple more on there. And Von Miller, who I wrote about in the IDP report, chasing, he just moved 1 more in front of Jared Allen, who just got in the Hall of Fame. I think he's got 3 more till he can catch Jason Taylor. He'd be like top 8. But with 1.5 more sacks, I think he moves into the top 10. So watch Von Miller. I know we got to talk about that game later, but keep that in mind.
I mean, I hope Myles Garrett gets it within the next 2 games too, right? Just so people aren't complaining about there's more games now. Like, get it clean. That would be nice, right?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he realizes that as well. Excuse me. Looking on the Bear side, Luther Burden, he busted out, but he got injured. Perfect, right? Now what do we do? DJ, can you trust him, Coop? I'm asking you as a question. Are you trusting DJ Moore week 16, man?
It's got to be a deep league, man, because he has not been trustworthy. I'll tell you what, though, if Burden and Adunze are out, then he's going to be ranked. Yeah, he'll be ranked as high as he's been all year. And Adunze, hurt his foot pregame, warming up, I guess, re-injured it. So who knows if he'll be back? So we'll see.
Yeah, it's a bummer, man, because Romeo was having a great season, but DJ, he could just for sheer volume get that. But Swift, had a big game. Everything you need. I put him in a couple of leagues just last second. People say don't tinker with your lineup. I say go with your heart. If you're in that moment, go with it. Kyle Monungai, low production. Will that continue against Green Bay? We'll see. More on them later. But Williams had a great big game, man. He's pushing forth a lot of fantasy points. I think it's a great thing to see. When we look at the tight end, Loveland's clear number 1. You're going to start him in almost every format. But Kmet does have value if you're in a deep league, tight end premium league. You could probably start Kmet if you're got injured at some positions, or you're looking at you have the Chiefs players and you're like, what do I do? Maybe you can start Kmet.
Yeah, that one's going to boil down to who's in, who's out, right? In terms of how consolidated we can get, because if a lot of these guys are going to be out, at least 1 or 2 of them, then yeah, Loveland wheels up for a little bit, and Luther Burden as well. Also, just want to say, Caleb Williams, one big complaint I've had on him is that he throws the ball as hard as he can a lot of the times. And this week, you saw a little development there. I mean, that touch pass to DJ Moore back at the end zone, that was nice. If he can put a little bit of touch on it, I mean, he's got the arm strength. That's not the problem. He's learning that you don't have to throw bullets every time, and it looks better. Much more catchable passes. So that was a big problem for Josh Allen early in his career too, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a Saturday game too on some of these injuries. Short week. I know it's only a day, but that makes a huge difference, believe it or not.
It matters, yeah. So next game here, and I'll tell you the other side of tinkering in that Sirius XM host league, literally, I think 12:55. I was kind of just checking the waiver wire in that league, saw Andre Yosivas there, put him in over Cooper Kupp. Those 9 points would be a huge difference in a league where, we're talking about 15 points from DK Metcalf versus 24 points. That's a huge difference. So tinkering sometimes doesn't always pan out. What are you going to do? In this game, a little concerning that Keaton Mitchell played more, and it wasn't just garbage time. That's the thing, is you might assume that in the 24-0 game, it was all garbage time. First half, this is per Nathan Yonke over at PFF, Keaton Mitchell got 10 snaps. Derrick Henry had 10 snaps in the first half. Keaton Mitchell had 6. We can't have that going on. We need Derrick Henry. If he's not going to operate on pass downs, we need him to be playing a lot more snaps here. So I don't know if this is just them trying to keep Henry fresh, or maybe because Mitchell's running for like 7 yards a carry, they don't want to get him in more. But Henry's probably going to be ranked a little bit lower for us. You'd have to have a ton of like superstars to bench him, but just keep that in mind for Henry. Maybe not the best DFS play moving forward if he's going to mix in a little bit like that. For the Ravens, honestly, here's how I look at it. Zay Flowers is the guy you start. Everybody else, not trustworthy. Like Mark Andrews, if he's not going to pop off against the Bengals, then you don't go there. I warned people about Isaiah Likely. I was letting them know. I even one of the last things I said, if you go to my Reddit thread where I posted my tight end article, the top comment on there was somebody saying, I'm starting Isaiah Likely over Jake Ferguson. And even though Jake Ferguson didn't really do anything, I said, just be careful with Isaiah Likely, because when you watch these games, every other snap, you're going to be asking yourself, where's Isaiah Likely? This guy only runs 50% of the routes. He's just not trustworthy. He only ran 11 routes this week. Isaiah Likely, obviously, you're not using, but Mark Andrews, if he's not going to pop against the Bengals, we're not going to use him either. So it's really just Flowers and Derrick Henry and Lamar that you can use from this team. With T. Higgins out, the Bengals, they chucked it heavily at Chase. We mentioned that on the show. 16 targets for him. Felt like it was going to be one of those games. Yosivas ran 40 routes to Chase's 43 and did nothing. So there's just really, you can't trust any of these guys. Gesicki ran 33 routes, right out of a possible 43, gave you nothing. Drew Sample ran 15. Tanner Hudson only ran 16 routes. He got 5 targets. This is what this tells me. Nobody else is like a cutesy spot start for me if Higgins is out. I'm just starting Chase. If Higgins plays, I'm starting Higgins. You're starting Joe Burrow, and you're starting Chase Brown. Like Samaje Perine took some pass snaps. I don't care. Chase Brown's the guy that you play. Any feelings otherwise on this team?
Yeah, real quick, man. Like I said, big commissioner of a lot of leagues, and I saw Gesicki get put in a lot of leagues. And last week, we specifically said, do you trust that boom performance to follow up? And we both said, no, you do not trust Gesicki. And look what happened, man. I mean, I know there was he had a close call. He almost got a touchdown, and that would have changed things. But that, close doesn't count in the fantasy football playoffs. Right. So
he's just not. If you with these teams, man, like you either need your guy to be a full-time player, or you need him to be like a locked-in, pure slot wide receiver that's playing a ton, like that's playing at least like 60% of the snaps. Because even a guy like Dalton Kincaid is hard to trust because he doesn't play. Like you need these guys to be playing all the snaps. End of story.
We'll have an example in one of the afternoon games coming up. But shifting over to Arizona versus Houston, man, Houston continues to dominate everything that I've kind of been touting them to be throughout this whole segment. This year is they're living up to it, man. But Brissett is still a QB1, man. He's going to win somebody a fantasy football championship, maybe a dynasty league, might be, redraft league. He's going to win somebody a fantasy football championship because he continues to deliver. So you're obviously going to start Wilson. You're obviously going to start McBride. I don't even think, Harrison Jr. does much to impact their fantasy value. They're going to take a hit, but not much of one. I think you're starting those two to keep carrying you. You don't fix something that's not broke. So just keep riding those guys. McBride tied in one by far. So kudos to everybody that got him in some best ball leagues and, redraft leagues. Looking at the running back situation, Knight is injured. Coop Carter by far and away outplayed everybody. 53 snaps. All the others had 13. I think he's fab worthy. I think this is something we look at. They might evaluate. Hey, do we, get Carter for an extension or re-sign him? Is it purely for depth, or do we move on? So I think it's going to be a good opportunity for them to look at this. Not much else to say about the Cardinals. I'm not trusting too many other people on that team. Looking at the Texans, the running back situation's a mess. Jordan led the team with 28 snaps. He had 15 rushes, 101 yards, 2 receptions for 17 yards. Darn, help me out on the last name here. Wakambali.
Oh, it's Dare Agumbawale. And the trick is to just sing this song in your head. Dare Agumbawale. That's how we that's how we did it back on the morning show with Simon and JL. So yeah, that's the trick. Dare Agumbawale.
Yeah, that's a good way to remember him. 21 snaps, 5 rushes, only 2 yards, but he did get 3 receptions for 22 yards. If Marks and Chubb are not in the game, you could see him be more of the pass receiving option for them out of the backfield. So just keep that in mind. Marks did exit with that injury. It's something we're gonna have to monitor going forward. This could push Chubb out of any kind of role whatsoever. Not that many people are relying on him, but I played Chubb in a couple leagues this year, so just keep that in mind. If you need to drop him for the playoffs, maybe just drop him. Okay, we got 2 more weeks in redraft and a dynasty. Do what you want. Stroud was amazing, 22 for 29, 263. I think you have to trust him at this point. If he's in your lineup in the fantasy football playoffs, you're probably going to play him. Collins, man, 2 touchdowns on 4 catches, unreal. 49 snaps, 30 receptions. He was a big play guy, but you're going to start Collins, okay? That's just the nature of it. They may need him in a game going forward. They didn't really need him this week. And here's my story. Dalton Schultz, somebody hit me up from the rink. They're like, Dallas Goedert or Dalton Schultz. Goedert got those two early touchdowns, and I was like, don't worry, Schultz is going to have a great game. He ended up with 8 receptions, 76 yards, 1 touchdown. Those are my 2 starts. I'm not touching anybody else for the playoffs in Houston. Really, if the running back situation comes down to it, maybe you start Jordan if you're hurt or if you're something's going on with your running back room. I don't know if you take that risk at week 16.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Jaden Higgins. We liked him as a stash, but he never quite graduated to a full-time every down player. So he's just not a guy that we can trust. And we were telling you guys that in the start sits, like people were trying to get him in there, they wanted him in there, and just you can't do that with a guy like that who's not going to play enough snaps, man. So Jaden Higgins, he's not a guy that I wouldn't necessarily drop him, but he's not a guy that we can trust after a week like this. We should have got something done for us. So it's a shame. And this is the interesting the game there, the Cardinals game and this game and the Bucks game. It kind of illustrates why in best ball a lot of times we care most about value, right? And collecting value and getting players we like versus correlations like stacking or focusing on week 17. Because really, you never, in hindsight, we always look back and we say, oh, wow, this guy had stacked up the Bengals and they had a good matchup and that's what did it. But in reality, when you look at the guy that won Best Ball Mania, he got every one of his players except for 2 cheaper than where they were going. And a couple of these guys, 3-round values, James Conner and Brian Thomas Jr., literally like 3 rounds of value. And, he got Joe Burrow at a discount, all these guys at a discount. That's what ended up mattering most. And this week really illustrated that it's difficult to sit back and plan out how things are going to work. A lot of the big play guys this week, they didn't have the correlations that you thought they might have had. Like Kyle Pitts played with a backup quarterback. You didn't stack Pitts and Cousins. You didn't stack Trey McBride and Jacoby Brissett, right? Like if you stacked a lot of teams that have McBride have Kyler Murray and they might not be advancing. And even with Trevor Lawrence, his big guy this week, his one of his big guys has been Jacoby Myers, a guy they traded for. That's not something you stacked either. So and a lot of the Brian Thomas Jr. teams are already out. So it's really hard to plan ahead. For me, value is always going to be the number one thing, and then correlations are tiebreaker after that. So just a little thing on some best ball there. But for these teams here, here's how I look at the Jets. Adonai Mitchell got the full workload still, 36 routes out of 41. If you're going to use somebody, it's him, right? If you're going to throw somebody a spot start, it's going to be him. With John Mechie, what happened here is a lot of times the backup quarterback comes in. Howard talks about this all the time. What they'll do is he's been working with a guy all year long on the practice squad or with the second team, and they'll let that guy play a little more. That was Isaiah Williams here. So Mechie rotated with Isaiah Williams. Hard to trust either of those guys now. Mechie only ran 26 routes. Williams ran 30, but Mechie played more snaps because Williams is only a slot guy. So maybe deep DFS dart throws, but Adonai Mitchell's the only guy you can basically consider. And then Breece Hall is still on the table. Isaiah Davis mostly played in garbage time. So this isn't like the Keaton Mitchell, Derrick Henry situation. Breece Hall got most of the work, but then when the game was out of hand, they just took him out. With the tight ends, can't trust any of them. Jeremy Ruckert only ran 25 routes. That's out of a possible 41. So not even close to a 70, 75%. Jelani Woods ran 11. Our guy Stone Smart only ran 9 and didn't get any targets. So not much you can do there. For the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence looked incredible. Best day of his career. He's always had the raw ability. It's obviously the matchup is a big part of it. But Trevor Lawrence, we've been mentioning it for weeks, a guy that you can definitely use in fantasy. Same with Jacoby Myers and BTJ. Jacoby Myers is in that Chris Godwin role. BTJ is in the Mike Evans role for Liam Cohen. And Brenton Strange is basically K-Dot, where he plays a lot of inline snaps. When one of the wide receivers gets hurt, we bump him up in the rankings. But I have a hard time trusting Brenton Strange in that role. And then Travis Etienne was great. Bashal Tootin hurt his finger, so we'll have to see. It was later in the game on a kick return, I believe, and who knows whether that's the problem, Iggy, is that like when the score is 48-20 and a guy hurts his finger, do you just say, hey, you know what, let's keep you out and we'll get this sorted and then you'll play next week? It's like if the score was 21-20, then maybe he comes back in place. So we'll have to monitor this Tootin situation. But if Tootin were to miss time, that's just ETN's the guy you're starting already, no matter what. But if Tootin were to miss time, now we're going to rank ETN like 5 overall in some of these weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, ETN would get a boost, but you're definitely starting him probably regardless. And Tootin, I don't know that you're starting him in too many leagues, to be honest. So just keep in mind on it. Looking over at the Chargers and the Chiefs, I guess. You ready?
Yeah, let's get it going.
Yeah, Herbert, they're doing it with the defense. The Chargers are playing really well. They're playing hardball football. But Herbert, 210 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I did not start him in one of my leagues. I just see this hand's going to affect him. Kansas City was basically playing for their playoff life at home, so I didn't expect a big game. He might have a better game going forward, but it's just something you're going to have to monitor. There were 27 rush attempts. They got 94 combined yards. Neither running back's really reliable. They're eating into each other's.
Hey, before we move on from that, let me ask you, next week, my 2 quarterbacks in Kings Classic are Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. Do I pivot? I didn't start. I should have started Lawrence this week. I got by anyway because I had Pitts and some guys. But what do you think, man?
Yeah, I think I'm starting Trevor Lawrence. Who is their opponent again? I got him in a league. The Jaguars play. Let's see here.
So this week coming up, the Jags have it's the Denver Broncos, bro.
Yeah, the Broncos. Ooh, that's tough. And then Herbert. Cowboys.
Chargers of the Cowboys. Oh, that's going to be a tough one. That's why we go through and break it down for the rankings. Rankings will be up tomorrow, so I'll let you guys know what I'm doing on that. But man, it doesn't line up great. I should have started Trevor this week.
Yeah, I might have to tilt Herbert in a league or two. But they did get, they were predominantly concerned about running the ball, controlling the clock, doing what they could to control the pace of that game. They did a pretty good job of it. More snaps, more time of possession. Harris was the leading wide receiver, though. Trey Harris, 56 snaps, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 49 yards. Ladd McConkey, another tinker move. I took him out of all but one of my lineups. I forgot about him in a 3 wide receiver league. He played, but he was not useful. I'm sure there's a lot of people that played him that may have been out. 49 snaps, 3 targets, 2 touches, 20 yards. And then Keenan Allen, only 28 snaps, but 7 targets, 5 receptions, 36 yards. Gadsden led them, I think. The tight end position is so volatile. If you need a tight end, and you could probably trust him, especially against the Cowboys next week. But I think his ceiling's kind of capped out with Herbert's injury and, Keenan Allen becoming, essentially the go-to for Herbert in third down and, dire situations. He's looking at Allen, and they're going to run the ball a lot. So, I don't know who you can start, honestly, with confidence on this offense. I don't know that you can start anybody except for Gadsden. If you made me pick one, that would be it.
It's a lot of really good dynasty players, right? You want to have a Marion Hampton. You want to have Gadsden. If you have Trey Harris now, you have a new deadline in May that becomes very important to you, right? Which is Quentin Johnston. They're going to have to decide if they're going to pick up the 5th-year option for Quentin Johnston because he's a first-round pick. If they don't pick up the option for Quentin Johnston, go out and trade for Pat Bryant in your fantasy league, in your dynasty leagues, right? Because people might not be keeping an eye on that, but under the radar, that means that Quentin Johnston could be out the window after next year. Maybe Trey Harris even surpasses Quentin Johnston next year, right? Because he looks pretty good. He whenever Quentin Johnston's been out, he goes right into that split end role, right? So I do have Trey Harris in a couple spots, and fingers crossed that they let Quentin Johnston leave. Because hey, you know what? Quentin Johnston could land on his feet too. So keep an eye on that. Yeah. That's going to be an important deadline. Yeah.
QJ was ineffective, this week. Big-bodied receiver could work really well on a certain team, I think. Chiefs, man, what happened is the weight of 5 Super Bowls in the past 6 years came crashing down on the Chiefs. We've seen it. The season is proof of it. I remember watching it happen to the Bills in like the second half of their last Super Bowl against the Cowboys. Like everything just started to collapse in those hard seasons and all those hits and all those long, games of preparing and mentally preparing and physically preparing just came crashing down on them. Mahomes is out. I mean, what does that do to this team? I mean, there's the running backs where they just start handing it off. I have no clue. Kelsey led the team in routes. He had 60 snaps, 40 routes, 9 targets. Rice had 52 snaps, 38 routes, 11 targets. I don't know what's going to happen with Minshew at quarterback. I don't know if they're just so deflated. I really don't know what to do. If you have Kelsey, you're probably starting him. If you have Rice, you're probably starting him, but I mean, that is going to be tough to trust weeks 16 and 17.
If I was the Chiefs, man, I would do a combination of two things here. One is I would potentially let some of the younger guys play and see what you got. You know what I mean? Like time to see what what's that guy? The rookie they drafted that hasn't played like all year. I think actually he might be on IR, but let some of these young running backs get carries. Also, the other thing I would do is have some fun. You know what I mean? Like let Travis Kelsey's been trying to do a lateral like for 5 straight years now. Like bust out the trick plays, let him do some crazy stuff, have a little fun, let Gardner Minshew go crazy, right? It's you got to keep morale up somehow because you got to play the games. You got to you can't just say, okay, we're done, we quit. You got to play these games out. So let it happen. And I mean, it's crazy the parallels that people are pointing out between the Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, right? Like they both won 3 Super Bowls by this point. They both suffered ACL tears in year 9. Like kind of crazy. Brady's happened obviously at the very beginning of the season versus this one, but Mahomes will be back. So I'm not super worried about.
Which team hit
against the Chiefs? It was in that building. Both of them happened in that building. It was just earlier in the year. It was that guy Pollard dove on his leg. So we'll see. Speaking of the Patriots, this was a great game. I mean, Patriots came out hot, but credit to the Bills. They fought back and won. On the Bills side, it's as simple as this for me. Josh Allen, James Cook, you start them every single week. These other guys are really hard to trust. Khalil Shakir is the only guy that ran more than 20 routes, and they passed 35 times. So Shakir running 28 routes, sure, throw him in PPR, but even he disappears at times. And Kincaid, only 16 routes run. Again, the upside is not as high as we want it to be. So Shakir, you're starting in deeper leagues, and Kincaid you might have to use in good matchups, but just tough to trust these guys. And I'm not using any of the other guys, Brandon Cooks or any of those guys. So Dawson Knox either. It's just a game script thing. Teams do kind of weird things in these division matchups. They did what they had to do to win. So good for them. Drake May on the other side must start. The running back split for the Patriots is the opposite of what everyone thought it would be, right? Everyone thought it was going to be Ramondre on rundowns, Henderson on pass downs. Turns out that's flipped at this stage. Henderson got a lot more carries, and Ramondre played 20 pass snaps to only 9 for Henderson. Simple as it always is in these situations, they trust Ramondre to pass block more than they trust Henderson, which Henderson it's fine. His usage is fine. He's getting plenty of carries and he's getting targets. So he's still, for me, in that must-start range too. He's not getting the full workload, though. So it's like we can't necessarily turn around and just rank him RB5 this week because he did do it with 2 big explosive plays against a very bad run defense. So it's not he's a guy you're starting, but it's not fully wheels up. But then in your dynasty leagues, I mean, think of it that way. Things could even be better for this player, right? Like he could even get more usage. So he's not even at his full speed. Like think about Jahmyr Gibbs early on in his career when he's making all these explosive plays, but David Montgomery is still taking a bunch of snaps. That's where Henderson lives right now. And now Gibbs gets like all the snaps and he's awesome. So Henderson still has higher ceiling, even though now after this week, he's probably impossible to buy in your dynasty leagues. Like his ceiling could go even higher. For the pass catchers, Diggs only ran 16 routes. I think he's still dealing with whatever chest issue he had earlier this year. And then here's how tricky it gets. Kayshon Boutte led the team in routes run. He caught a pass on the first drive and then disappeared. And then Mac Hollins was kind of in between the two in routes, got 8 targets here. Again, hard to trust any of those guys. Hunter Henry, this is a terrible matchup for him, but I'm willing to use him in better matchups. So I'm not dropping Hunter Henry. If someone drops him, I will add him. And that's about it for that game.
Real quick, Hollins or Ladd McConkey?
Next week, I'm probably just starting Ladd McConkey. The thing with Hollins is that they do it on a case-by-case basis. So This week he gets 8 targets. Next week he could get 2, and Boutte could get 6 targets. So it really is not something that I trust, unfortunately. DFA is a DFS player.
And then real quick, do you think Orchard Park deserves one more playoff game before they, send it off into a new stadium?
I think that would be nice, man. I think that would be nice for him. So hopefully they make it.
I feel the same way about Soldier Field. On to Washington versus New York in the NFC East. Mariota, 10-19, 211, one touchdown pass. He had 43 rush yards, if I'm reading that correctly. 43 on 10 attempts. So I think he's got super flex appeal, maybe beyond that. Maybe if you're in one QB league, you take a look at Mariota going. If he plays next week, Daniels, it's just been an interesting situation. Look at the wide receiver and the tight end, Scary Terry and Debo. That's who I'm going to start, regardless of the quarterback. Terry obviously had the touchdown, the big catch, big play dependent, but I think they just both get enough volume to have some value. Debo maybe more so in deeper leagues, or a flex. You're looking at JCM startable, man, out of nowhere. I don't know. I saw people go pick him up in several leagues, and it worked out great for him this week. I don't know what to expect next week. I mean, he just kind of came out. We've been talking about how little volume he was getting. He was literally the third volume guy on this team for 3 or 4 weeks on this show. We talked about it, and now he gets it. I don't know. If you need it, go for it. If it helps,
it's simple. If Chris Rodriguez is out, then he's on the radar, and if Chris Rodriguez plays, then he's off.
Yeah, he's on the radar. That's a good way of saying it. I don't know if he's going to lead you to a victory, but he's there.
But you got to. I mean, again, we were saying the same thing about Chris Rodriguez. He's a starting running back for the team, and he gets the goal line carries. If Chris Rodriguez is out, it's not Jeremy McNichols is not going to get those goal line touches. So we got to respect the pot that we're going to rank wherever we were ranking Chris Rodriguez before. I'll just rank JCM there now. Which is
Safe.
not super high, but in a lot of these leagues, that guy needs to be rostered.
I agree. Dart could lead teams to fantasy football championships this season. Just excellent rookie play. This is when they come on. They're having fun. They're doing essentially what you think the Chiefs should do. He's a must start, 23.1 fantasy football points, and that's with 4-point TD passing touchdowns. So just absolutely amazing. Tyrone Tracy, you're starting him in the fantasy football playoffs. He outproduced Singletary by far. More snaps, more involved in the pass game. I just think you're going to continue to trust him. He had 97 scrimmage yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 receptions. When you look at the wide receiver room for the Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson, you're going to start him. He had 67 snaps, 9 targets, 5 receptions, 54 yards on the touchdown. Slayton, pretty much identical numbers, 59 snaps, 9 targets, 4 receptions, 53 yards. No touchdown. I trust Robinson more. When you look at Hodgman, all his value was within those 2 weeks with Jameis Winston. He's not going to have any value outside of that. He's out there just as much. Like how Coop was talking about one of the wide receivers earlier. A lot of volume, no production, so you just can't trust that at all. And then I'm starting Theo Johnson. He's somebody I've been big on, throughout the season. Before the season began, I thought there was a lot of potential in him. 59 snaps, 32 routes, 4 receptions, 72 yards. Ballinger, he played like 18 snaps. He had a few routes run, but Theo Johnson's the guy there. I think you can trust him for the fantasy football playoffs.
For sure. And we got a question here from Jonathan. Do we trust Tracy rest of the way? Pretty decent matchups. What do you think, man?
Oh, yeah. I just said, you're going to trust him. I think this team's going to be all about offense. I think they're looking at their talent. I think, he's obviously proved that he has some kind of rapport with Dart. So I'm starting him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we got a few, just real quick. I'm going to hit some questions in the chat. A lot of people just wondering if they can win tonight. If they can win their matchup.
Let's go. That's easy.
5.5 from Boswell. Boswell, dude, he's a weapon, man. They love Bos. Rank these tight ends for week 16. Waller, Kobe, Parkinson, Juwan Johnson. Again, I still got to go through and finish digging through all the data on that. That's going to be up and ranked in the waiver wire article tomorrow morning. The thing with Waller is that we haven't seen him play this week yet. If Waller runs like 70% of the routes tonight and gets 5-6 targets, you better believe I'm starting him next week against the Bengals. But if he comes out and splits with Dulcich like he did last week, then we have to go with one of these other guys. Colby Parkinson. Again, with Colby Parkinson, we got to know if Devontae Adams is out or not, because that huge swing in whether or not we really love a guy like that or not. So a question like that absolutely is going to be answered by Thursday. You know what I mean? Like, we just need so much more information to answer that. Up 29 against Achane tonight, 5-point bonus for 100 plus rushing receiving yards. My odds to win My goodness, 5-point bonus for 100 plus rushing receiving yards is the best format for Devon Achane there's ever been, right? Like, if you could if you could give a player a boost in a rushing plus receiving yards. Now, is it combined rushing plus receiving, or does it have to be 100 rushing or 100 receiving?
Yeah, I mean,
Let us know there.
yeah, it's got to be. That would be interesting. The rushing plus receiving 100 scrimmage yards
If it's
bonus.
100 scrimmage yards, that's huge for Achane, and he could easily hit that number. If it's 100 rushing yards or 100 receiving, that's actually a much tougher for Achane, because he is more of a dual guy.
I think the Steelers are going to try to control this game. I would imagine with this game script, but Miami has an underranked defense. They really do.
Yeah, the thing with Achane is when they can run, he runs a ton. When they can pass, right? Like, he catches a ton of passes. Like, he's kind of he's game script agnostic. So I'm looking to see what his over under is for rushing plus receiving. I'll pull that up in a second.
Tonight, I don't know. I hope he doesn't have a good game, but it's Achane, and I know my best ball team on DraftKings. If he gets less than 17.4 points, I'm good. So
if he scores, I have one where if he scores 22, I put another team through. So we're at odds on that one. We can root together against DK Metcalf, but I gotta root for Devon Achane, and it looks like his rushing plus receiving yard number. Oh boy, 120 at plus 106. So about even money at 120 on the over on that. Yeah, so that's a little scary.
That's a high number, man.
I would love that, dude. So what would I need? I would need that and a touchdown and a couple receptions. Yeah,
5 receptions and a touchdown and that. You're
entirely possible, Broheem. So we'll see.
It.
Next game here, Raiders, Eagles. I'll tell you what. Raiders, you're starting Bowers. Genty, you're starting him if you have no one else. And that's it. If you want the next best guy, Trey Tucker, but because of the targets Bowers gets and because Genty always gets 5 or 6, you have maybe a shot at one other fantasy relevant guy in any given week. Tucker's the best bet. Besh and Lockett, they're not doing anything for you, but I don't trust Tucker either. So Raiders stink. Simple as that. You're not using their defense. You're not using their kicker. You're using Bowers, and you might use Genty, and you're not using Kenny Pickett. So there you go. Easy enough. Eagles side, blowout. Again, this one, blowout skews the numbers, right? Dallas Goedert got a couple gadgety plays early on. He could have had 3 touchdowns, but he dropped one. But Goedert, he was solid here. And this is what happens with the Eagles. When it's an A.J. Brown game and he goes crazy, Goedert stinks. When Devonta Smith scores a long touchdown, then these other guys don't get a ton of targets. When Saquon Barkley goes crazy, the other guys get hurt. So we know who the key players are. In most cases, you just start them. You just start Hurts and Barkley and A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and probably Dallas Goedert and just hope that it's going to be your guys' week, because it's it takes a lot for all these guys to pop. They scored 31 points this week, and you got nothing from A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. But next week, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith could each get 10 targets, and you get nothing from Goddard or you get nothing from Barkley. So, again, not the easiest team because it could be more consolidated, but at least you know who the main characters are. So, anything else on that game? Though that game was for fantasy kind of just forget it.
Yeah, Pete Carroll, better luck next time, buddy. Moving ahead to the game of the week, without question. I mean, this felt like a Super Bowl game, and it had the heartbreak of just a romance novel, man. It was terrible. It was terrible. Green Bay lost to the Denver Broncos 34-26. Bo Nix, man, he did wonderful. He's everything he was built up to be. He if you held on to Bo Nix and survived those kind of rough weeks and you started him, you were rewarded. You probably won. Trevor Lawrence and him were by far the best 2 quarterbacks of this past week, even with Dart in the mix. So, he's got great second halves. RJ Harvey, he's starting to get all the volume. You're starting him for the playoffs. You're going to trust him. Broncos are trying to lock up that number 1 seed now. I think they just got to win 2 the next 3 games, I believe. But yeah, look for them to keep rocking and rolling with that. Sutton, you're starting regardless. That was the one when we were listing off the best ball names. Nix and Sutton came through in the playoffs if he made that stack. They had a great combination today. Franklin, man, I went and grabbed him in a couple leagues and put him in the starting lineup because Bryant was out. If Pat Bryant continues to be out, just, look at Franklin as an option. Little Jordan Humphrey came in and ran a lot of routes. Marvin Mims had more targets. Nix was just slinging it, man. He was taking advantage and just throwing it everywhere. You're not trusting Ingram. You're not starting him in week 16 or 17, so you don't want to get Gesicki'd. That's one thing I said. Love, one of his worst games in quite some time. Tough weeks against Chicago coming up. I don't know if you can trust it, but you're probably starting him, especially in a super flex league. Jacobs looked great. I think they might lean on him pretty hard this Saturday. So you're going to start Jacobs. Watson, no structure damage. Green Bay went from being up 9 points to losing their best offensive lineman, losing what they thought was, definitely lost their best wide receiver for the game, and then lost their best player on their roster for the season. So, that's how things can change in the NFL, going from possibly the number 1 seed, beating the best team in the NFL. Now they're the bottom 7 seed in the NFC, don't have their best player. That's the way it's going to be, but it's going to help for fantasy probably. They're not going to be able to stop teams as well. So look for Jordan Love, look for Watson, look for Dobbs. Jalen Reed is somebody you're going to start going forward regardless. And they're going to have to play a lot of offense to try to control the games. So
yeah, way she goes, man. I mean, that was a good one. There were a lot of good games. That game, the Broncos-Packers game was great. The Patriots-Bills game was great, even though neither one of those games went the way we wanted it to, right? But still good games from between good teams. And then this game was great too. I went back, watched this one again this morning. I'm going to make my way through all of them by the end of the day. But I always prioritize. These are the 3 games I watched this morning so far. And then I started the next one. But it's like I always prioritize the big ones first because those are the most meaningful. You know what I mean? And I want to make sure I get those in. So yeah, Rams Lions. This one was high flying game, lived up to expectations. Over under was set at 56, 75 points scored here. For the Lions, it's pretty simple. Jahmyr Gibbs is the clear starter. David Montgomery has a very limited role. He scored on it wasn't even a handoff. They did like a wildcat kind of trick play at the goal line. So you know what? Like David Montgomery right now isn't all that much different than guys like Tyler Algier or Devin Singletary. We rank him ahead because he's on a better team, and that gives him a better shot at scoring, but like he is very touchdown dependent. Jahmyr Gibbs is locked in at your lineup every week. So is Amon-Ra St. Brown. So is Jameson Williams. Isaac Tisla is the wide receiver 3. No tight ends emerged since Laporte has been out. So that's it. Simple as that. Like you're starting Gibbs, Amon-Ra, and J-Mo. And if you have to, then Montgomery. And Montgomery still needs to be rostered because he's still one of the best handcuffs in football. On the Rams, Devontae Adams could miss time with his hamstring situation. If he does, Colby Parkinson is already a guy that you should be adding, but he becomes must add because once Devontae Adams went down, they ran a ton of 3 tight end sets. In fact, in the game, by the end of the game, Colby Parkinson led the team in routes run, and Terrence Ferguson was actually second. So Colby Parkinson had the monster day. Terrence Ferguson was very close to having a very good day himself. He was wide open down the sideline. The ball was overthrown. Missed a wide open touchdown there. He also had one later that was in his hands. Tough play. Ended up, in my opinion, I would call it a drop because, the ball was there and it was catchable. So he had very close to 2 touchdowns for him too. He's more of like a deep DFS dart throw. But like if Adams is out, we're going with Puka Nacua, obviously, and we're looking at Colby Parkinson. Then after that, it gets dicey because we don't know who the next guy is going to be. Konata Mumfield has been the wide receiver 3, but sometimes they have another guy sitting in the wings that is going to move into that split end role. Like Jordan Whittington, for instance, is a fairly big guy. Maybe they want him to be split end. So I think it's either going to be Mumfield or Whittington. Atwell is still kind of just a field stretcher. So it's really, if Adams is out for the year, then we'll try and add somebody, but we're not going to use them this week. And then for the running backs, they actually decided this week, Iggy, to split it 1 drive each for each guy all the way through. So instead of it being like 30% Blake Corum, it was now closer to 50. It would have been 50, but they had an odd number of drives. That's how close it was. where it was Kyron got the first drive, then Corum, then Kyron, then Corum, then Kyron, and then Kyron got the last drive. So he ended up playing more snaps, but it looks like they're willing to just rotate these guys by drive, So it hurts both of them, but both of them might be guys you can start now. So that's my read on that one. Definitely going to move Kyron down a little bit and Corum up a little bit.
Yeah, more usage. I think they're gearing up to have a deep playoff run, and that's why they're trying to keep Williams fresh because they've already clinched the playoff berth, I believe. So
yeah, that's a tough loss there, Mile High Luke. And I know I see people in the chat, it's a bummer the season's over. My Raiders are fighting for number 1 draft spot. Guys, still plenty of football left to play. There's still plenty of DFS to play. We got FFPC. We got Underdog. We got best ball challenges. We got all sorts of stuff going on, man. I'm letting you guys know what I'm going to be playing for playoff challenges. I got articles coming out this week. I'm doing one on FFPC's playoff contest. I'm doing one on Underdog's playoff contest for the NFL playoffs. Like, we're going to keep it rocking, man. Stuff those sad thoughts in a sack. That's a positive tweet. Number 1 draft spot. That's a good thing, a positive one. Bummer that the season's over. It's not over yet, Mojo. Not over yet. Okay? So let's cheer up. And you know what? If you don't have any teams left, that just means you got to make more, join more leagues, start more leagues, right? Get more people. That's the challenge this offseason I'm issuing to everybody. Start a league with people that have never played before. Teach them how to play, but also kick their butt and show them how much fun it is to play. So enough of that sadness out there in the chat. All right.
Yeah, the commissioner first year championship, man, it's a great feeling when you have that rocking and rolling.
The only way to show them how to play is to show them how to play, dude. So get everybody in there, low buy-in, very low buy-in, or even free, and show everybody the ropes, show everybody how fun it is, introduce some people to this game we play. Get them, if they really love it, they get them signed up to be a part of the Fantasy Alarm family, right? What a better gift to give somebody that loves fantasy than to introduce them to the family and get them into the Discord and say, hey, I got you a present. Join our community. Come hang out with us, right? That's what this season is all about. So no being sad. It's okay to be a little sad. I'm a little sad that my Patriots lost, but we're still got plenty of football left and plenty of fun to be had. All right.
Yeah, that's true, man. A lot of great football too. Some of the best football always is coming up. So let's get ready to enjoy it. Carolina versus New Orleans, another great game in my opinion. New Orleans came out ahead on that one. We look at the Panthers. Young, I think he's got a super flex option. He had good rushing yards that kind of saved his line this week. I don't know if I'm just going to trust Young to be my QB1 to deliver me all the way through. If you have him, obviously you had to have somebody else at some point, so you're going to look elsewhere unless it's a super flex league. Running back Dow, I think we're going to start him still. That Chuba Hubbard thing, like Hubbard had great plays. I think he had one great play called back on a penalty in that game as well. But he's just not getting enough volume to be, I know you risked Hubbard. I looked at him in the league. I ended up not going with him. But Dow, you can start Hubbard. I don't know. We'll have to see what they do next week. Maybe he can do something in the championship. But other than that, you're not going to start him. Wide receivers, really inconsistent. Coker had a big game this week, 4 for 60 and a touchdown. Tag McMillan, 4 targets, 2 receptions, 25 yards. So a big disappointment. I know if you had him. Leggett, 3 targets, 2 catches, 39 yards. I don't think too many people are starting him. It's just hard to tell which of these 2 wide receivers are going to have the bigger game. If you have Coker, you're probably starting him. If you have Tet, you might be starting him. I would look elsewhere. But Coker's probably the only one that has for sure wide receiver 3 upside, Tet, some flex upside. And we've told you all year, just stay away from this tight end room.
Ted's had some down weeks, but he still leads the league. And I mean, he leads the team and everything. I mean, I don't know. You would just flat out rank Coker above Tetero and McMillan this week?
Yeah, because Coker was out for how many weeks? His influence on the game has kind of changed it. And Leggett's not going to come off the field because he's too good of a run blocker. That's just the reality of it. So I think straight up you might still put Tet higher, but I think Coker has the safer floor.
Yeah, he's in the equation now. I mean, they did run a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, so they all played a decent amount. Okay.
With their tight ends, they have to, man. Looking at the Saints.
Let Jatavian Sanders play more. No more Tommy Tremble.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'll have to look into it. Trumpy had a lot of snaps, so it's just something we're gonna have to continue to look at. When we look at Shuck, man, I think he has super flex appeal. I played him and won in a couple of leagues. 272, one touchdown, but he gets 32 rush yards. So his floor just kind of goes up that much more. Yeah, it always starts bad. He never really comes out just really great in the first quarter or the first half. Kellen Moore must make great halftime adjustments because they come out and they look like a different team. Shuck, I think, is going to be good to go. Neal was looking great. Hamstring injury, nothing to play with. I don't know why they would rush him back with nothing to play with, and he's the rookie running back. Probably going to be the starting running back next season. I would think that he's probably done for the fantasy football season, but something to monitor. Estimate came in. Audric Estimate, 25 snaps, 3 rushes, 11 yards. Evan Hull, 22 snaps, 4 rushes, 12. You can't trust either one of those guys if Neal goes out. It's just a bummer to see. I don't know if Kamara would come back. It's just something we're going to have to monitor. When we look at the wide receiver room, Olave and Vele, great volume. I put Vele in a couple leagues. It's like, man, he's going to keep busting out. He got injured. He was in a sling coop. I don't know if they're going to rush him back either. That's just such a bummer to see him get injured because he was having great chemistry with Shuck. Everybody's like, oh, I can't believe y'all gave up a draft pick for that, yada, yada, yada. And it turned out to be a very great wide receiver too. It's going to be something to monitor in dynasty leagues. If you can go out and get him, I think it might be worth a snag because Olave and him paired with Johnson is going to be pretty good the next year, I think, for fantasy football purposes. Looking at Johnson once again, you're going to roll with him. Tight end premium leagues, he's got more value, 4 for 30. I think he's going to kind of continue to put up that floor line. So the truth is, if you had him this season, you probably didn't roll with too many other tight ends. So you're going to keep rolling with him, I think, for the fantasy football playoffs.
Especially if Javon Vele's out, right? Like that's the big thing for me. Like Juwan, if Vele's gonna be out, like it's gonna be Mason Tipton and Kevin Austin and whoever. Like, I'm cool with it, man. I'm cool with it. And yeah, it's a shame that Vele was hurt there. And like people were talking about that trade, like is whatever, rip off, whatever. It's like, do you think Sean Payton, with all the respect in the world for the Saints, would really go out and try and like pull the rug on them? No, they had a lot of good wide receivers with. They wanted to get Pat Bryant in there, right? Pat Bryant was like blocking well, and Troy Franklin was going well, and they like Mims. Like, you know what? They reached out to the people they knew, Mickey Loomis and them, and they made a deal, and it looks like it's going to be a good deal for everybody. So sometimes it works out like that, and I think it's best when it works out like that. Colts Seahawks, man, got to start right at the top and say Phillip Rivers looks serviceable, and it's just proof, right? It's proof that how niche of a skill set NFL quarterback is, right? Like so few people in the world have the level of experience needed to do the job at a high level. It's like being an underwater welder. It's like you can only become proficient at it by playing it at a high level for a long enough time, and there's only so many people that can do that. So with all the people crying about Cam Newton or whoever else you want to throw out there, Colin Kaepernick, like Phillip Rivers played football more recently than those guys, played it at a higher level than them, understands it better, and he came out and he looked serviceable. He almost won this football game. So big shout out to him, dude. He rules. As expected, though, Alec Pierce really struggled here because Phillip Rivers is going to get the ball out of his hands really quick. That's simple as that. Like Alec Pierce runs longer developing routes, deeper down the field. Rivers is not in the position to hold on to the ball and take those shots, so he didn't. He dumped it down underneath to Pittman and Warren and Josh Downs. Josh Downs is still a part-time player, but they ran a lot more 3 wide receiver sets. So Josh Downs back on the menu for like DFS. You know what I mean? But like Pittman and Warren, probably going to still start him. Jonathan Taylor, you're still starting everywhere. I mean, like you can't go away from him. On the Seahawks side, did you have any comments you wanted to make on Rivers or any of that situation before I moved on to the next one?
No, I mean, what a game. He's on one side he looked good. It wasn't the reason they lost. On the other side, they lost to a team that didn't score touchdowns. So, and just take it for what it's worth.
Simple as that. Seahawks. I mean, Seahawks are a great team. So the fact that Rivers hung in there, man, he could beat some of these teams coming up. So we'll see. For the Seahawks, the key on this offense here was that Elijah Arroyo was out, and that saw them run more 3 wide receiver sets. They couldn't do all like the 2 tight end sets they typically did. So you saw more Barner, but you also saw more Rashid Shaheed. And so JSN, obviously, you're starting him everywhere. He ran 39 routes, got 9 targets. Cup ran 31 routes, got 7 targets. Shaheed ran 32 routes, got 7 targets. He looked good, 5 catches for 74. So he's kind of back on the DFS or deep league radar for as long as Arroyo's out. The problem is when he's playing, then they do more, 2 wide receiver sets, which hurts Shaheed. Charbonnet is trusted more for pass work, pass blocking, and goal line. That hurts Kenneth Walker. He isn't efficient, so it hurts him. Both these guys are hard to trust. I'm trying not to start them where I can avoid it.
Yeah, I made it past the league where I had to start Kenneth Walker, outproduced by Charbonnet, and Charbonnet had 3.1 points.
Yeah, Walker. One of my leagues, if I was playing this week, I would have started him probably, but I was on a bye. Coming out of the bye, I have Christian McCaffrey, I have RJ Harvey, and I just have too many options. Even with the Christian Watson injury, too many guys to throw in the flex and to trust Kenneth Walker. So he's really only if you have to type guy right now.
Yeah, I'm glad I made it. We'll get past it. Wrapping it up, man. Speaking of CMC and running backs busting out of nowhere, let's look at the Titans, man. They have finally arrived. If you held on to Cam Ward, you are rewarded. I dropped him about 4 weeks ago. Saw a team in the playoffs. They're the second highest score in the playoffs. Cam Ward, a big part of that. So patience pays off. You're going to trust Ward. I think he's got super flex appeal and deep league QB1 appeal. Pollard, 14 for 104 and a touchdown. He's on my bench this week. He was on my bench last week. He had 1 reception, 8 yards, back-to-back games that he's been a great running back. Start him if you dare. Wide receiver, DK, Ayomanor, Jefferson, great volume, very low production. All right, that is not who Ward is throwing to. I'm not sure you can trust either one of those. Jefferson and DK obviously had more targets. Ayomanor had more snaps, but just take it for what it's worth. Here's the question that everybody likes to ask. Is it Helm? Everybody's all about at the Helm. Helm's deep, to the castle. I don't know, man. He had a touchdown, so he's gonna get started a lot next week. 4 for 49. Okinawa, 4 for 33. I'm not starting him. I have him in a league. I'm not starting either one of these guys. No. You don't want to get Gesicki'd, but I know some of you are going to start him. Anything to say about Tennessee real quick?
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing with Tony Pollard is he plays well in positive game scripts. In the negative ones, they put in Tajay Spears for the pass downs, but they've been in kind of positive game scripts for a good chunk of these games, and he looks good. And next week they get the Chiefs with Minshew, and then they get the Saints. I don't know, Pollard definitely on the flex radar. We'll see.
Yeah, you got to start him if you dare, man. Like I said, this wasn't a positive game script, and he still did well. Looking at the 49ers, pretty, man. He's going to win some people some championships. 23 for 30, 295, 3 touchdowns, 44 rushing yards. You're starting him. CMC injured, saving him for the playoffs, whatever. He still had 23 touches, 73 yards, had 1 reception for 14 yards and a touchdown on the ground. People are going to get disappointed if you didn't have Brian Robinson. I've held on to Brian Robinson in a 5-bench league, 15-start league, and I've held on to Robinson for over 10 weeks. All right, because for this moment, you don't know if once people drop him, if you have CMC and you didn't cuff him, go pick him up. All right, just go pick him up. You got 2 more weeks. Brian Robinson didn't look too bad, but mainly you have the handcuff. Wide receiver, Pearsall looked amazing. Jennings looked great. You're going to start both of them. Jennings, 2 of his 3 catches were tight ends or touchdowns. So be mindful of that. He could get pushed out because Kittle had 8 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. He's the one that you're definitely starting. I think you can start Pearsall with confidence. You're starting CMC and you're starting pretty point blank.
Yeah, this Titan secondary is like a mess, huh? Like they're starting safeties at corner, and they just 3 more guys got hurt this week. Like they lost? They lost Xavier Woods, like Amani Hooker, I think I hurt too. Like the Titan secondary is no longer any good. So it's a shame because
Simmons caught a touchdown too, man. Like he's a do-it-all true guy. Like if he was on a better team or if the Titans are having a better year, he would be like defensive player of the year candidate. That's how good he's been playing.
Game winning, like that was huge touchdown or game tying, right at the end there. Yeah.
It was just like he should. Cedric Gray, amazing game, another IDP. If you can go get him.
Yeah. All right, last one here. Vikings at Cowboys. So let's start on the Viking side, and this one's going to be quick because we got to get out of here. But it's easy enough. I mean, JJ led the team in routes, got 8 targets. They're just having a hard time connecting. Hawkinson, 25 routes, 5 targets. Addison, 18 routes, only 2 targets. So, like, these guys are all very difficult to trust. I'm trying to avoid it wherever possible. Aaron Jones is one guy that, like, he's getting a huge chunk of the work, even with the shoulder issue. He's the guy closest to my starting lineup on this team of anybody. And then Jalen Naylor, he got 4 targets, scored 2 touchdowns, but only ran 16 routes. Like, again, my trust level on pretty much all these guys is damn near 0, besides Aaron Jones, who's the guy that I'm looking to use. And Justin Jefferson, use him where you have to. But if you drafted Justin Jefferson, how is your team still alive? You know what I mean? Like, you probably have better options at this stage. So the only other thing of note is they used a little more fullback than usual. CJ Ham, 16 snaps for him. So they're trying to get the run game going. On the Cowboys side, Javonte hurt his shoulder. That saw more Malik Davis. Let's see what happens here. Sometimes guys play through with adrenaline and then they miss. So we'll have to see. If Javonte's playing, you start him, though. End of story. Lamb and Pickens are still the top 2 targets. Pickens doesn't look like he wants to be there at all. But, you know, people are speculating that, like, he doesn't, you know, he doesn't like being the wide receiver 2. He doesn't like that they might franchise tag him. But the upside is so high for him that it's hard not to start him even when he has bad weeks in between. So you're probably starting Lamb, probably starting Pickens. Jake Ferguson is a clear third fiddle. And again, he's a guy like Dallas Goedert and a lot of other guys that are just like, you throw them in there and if you have to, but if you have guys that are closer to being focal points, try and use those guys. Anything else on those teams before we get everybody out of here?
No, that's it for me, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And then tonight, folks, I hope all your dreams come true. I hope that all the everything you need to happen, threading the needle. I hope that that you're like DK Metcalf for me. I hope somehow he scores exactly 16 points so I can advance. Matty Strauss, I hope all your guys come through. Calvin Austin, so you guys can wear the chains. You guys can wear the chains like our guy Matty Strauss over at USASportsFanChain.com. Again, we still have that promo code going if you want to get your chain going for your league. I know, hey, whether you're eliminated or not, it's a gift you can get to your entire league. It is that time of year. So use promo code ALARM over there. Hit that QR code. But, folks, that's it for us today. We're heading on out of here. I hope everything works out for you in all your leagues. Iggy, you got anything else for the people before we get them out of here?
Just, hit them with what we like to say.
Adios, turd nuggets.